reading with red pen in hand, noting grammar poor and bland. You made your mark on freshman ways. We learned quite well in schoolboy days. Alas, so sad that future friars may never know how wit inspires.
Favorite memory, definitely when someone found out his birth date. So naturally we bought him a cake, came in, set it on his desk, and he walked in, paid no attention to it at first, and then in typical Mr. Eccleston fashion, walked over, picked it up, dropped it in the trash, not another word about it. So no chance to sing happy birthday or anything.
You know, my freshman year in high school, I weighed 95 pounds the entire year. I wasn't an academic and I wasn't a football player. I was a professional daydreamer. I spent a lot of time in class daydreaming about getting A's or perhaps being a football star like that Steve Berline fella.
My favorite memory of Mr. Eccleston was, for me, definitely the first day. I guess I was kind of doomed from the start. During roll call, he knew exactly who I was, what my name was, and I think he taught, I don't know, 6 or 7 of my uncles, including my dad as well. So I actually got kicked out of class on the first day and was told to come out and count some bricks right here on the wall.
Stand out here and count bricks. Count all the bricks.
And didn't even know what that meant, to be honest. I had no idea. He actually came out and had to physically tell me and point and say, count those bricks. So, interesting experience.
One of my favorite stories from Mr. Eccleston's class, whenever you didn't do your homework, he would make you go outside and pick up trash, and he used to say, pick up papers. We were in class one day and Mr. Eccleston came across a student that didn't do his homework, and he told the student to go outside and pick up papers. And it was wet outside, it was pouring rain outside, and the student replied with, but Mr. Eccleston, it's raining out. And I'll never forget Mr. Eccleston, without even missing a beat, looked at the student and said, well then pick up wet papers.
You didn't want to daydream in Mr. Eccleston's class because by the time you came to, it was just too late. You'd be like, oh, where did Mr. Eccleston go? You would just be standing there looming over you. Mr. Warburton, would you please conjugate? I don't even know what that means.
You know, he had a different way of getting rid of things, and when someone was messing around with a pencil or a pen or clicking their heels or something, he'd throw anything out the window.
Fire hazard!
So he'd pick up your pen, throw it out the window, pick up your pencil, shoot a notebook that you were writing, and I guess it was typical that people would do other classwork, and he'd pick up your book, didn't care whose it was, throw it right out that side window.
I had Mr. Eccleston as 9th grade English teacher, and he showed me so much about the importance of communication. One of the important lessons that I learned was the importance of being able to communicate, sometimes even without words. I remember sitting in Mr. Eccleston's class and watching him conduct an entire instruction period for 40 minutes without uttering one word, simply by pointing, clicking, or beckoning. He was able to convey the important message of what it was that he was trying to teach us that day.
In 1992, I got hired on as an English teacher here at Servite, and it was my first year teaching, and I walk into the faculty lounge one day, and Mr. Eccleston was sitting on the lounge reading the newspaper, and he was in there all by himself, and I walked in and I thought to myself, it's just the two of us. Having been a former student of his, I have to say something to him. I got to go up to him and I got to say something. So I walked up to him and he was sitting on the couch and he had the newspaper in front of his eyes, and I walked up and I said, Mr. Eccleston, Todd Cook, I had your class and now I'm a teacher here at Servite. I teach English. And he looked at me and he put the newspaper down and he said, get away from me, Cook. And he put the newspaper back up, and that was it. That was the end of the end of our exchange. I thought, sure, he would talk to me as a teacher, but I realized at that point that nothing had really changed.
He was scary. He was very tall, I remember, 7'3". Fact check that, but it was very, very tall and scary, like that restaurant critic from Ratatouille. But good looking. He was a very handsome man, very theatrical. I always thought I was terrified in this class, and when I look back, I was actually quite entertained, I think. And he made English fun.
The most important lesson Mr. Eccleston taught me was definitely how to write.
Wrong! Wrong! Automatic F for knowing nothing!
That guy that can correct anyone's grammar now, I definitely correct their emails and their text messages.
Guard locker 271. Guard it with your life.
But perhaps most important is the fact that Mr. Eccleston exemplified what it is that we do here at Servite, forming faith-filled leaders. His example of being able to communicate the gospel, using words only when necessary, and sometimes no words at all, made an important impression on me. For that I say thank you, Mr. Eccleston.
And I just believe that long before Robin Williams and Dead Poets Society, there was Mr. Dale Eccleston. He was just a genius and quite fun. And I look back very fondly, and I'm very thankful. Thank you, Mr. Dale Eccleston, from the bottom of my heart. A wise young man so learned in letters, notwithstanding ties and sweaters, mesmerized our bright young faces with no-look baskets from 20 paces. Through deadpan stare did knowledge flow to fertile minds who did not know the pen, though mightier than the sword in life yields more than just reward. Ill tribute is this ode accused, because some boys are easily amused. I shall free you from the shackle of ignorance. For his example to students, for his 28 years of dedicated service, for setting high standards, Servite High School proudly presents Dale Eccleston with the 2013 Distinguished Faculty Award.